Hold up, hold up. Yeah. Hold up, hey. Woman.
Hold on. Let me finish my point, you jerk.
You don't call your dad a jerk.
Well, you're being a jerk.
We just had one of our guests on, Jason Fry, talking about the Celtics are going to win their 19th championship. So what have you got to say about that?
Who this Jason Fry character is, he was talking about doing hard shit. Well, his prediction is bullshit. Okay. All right.
I have a feeling we're about to be joined by Sir George. He normally comes out of the black hole. Oh, there he is. Sir George. He is
it's
back.
You play football. What's up? You know,
Well, I just want to say,
Hey, Hey, Jerry. Hey, Jerry. I just saw Jerry joke. Hey, Jerry. You said, well, this ain't your number one. You're number one, Jerry. Number one.
Oh, my God. We're moving on. We've killed the Cowboys. Matter of fact, get out. I'm tired of talking to you. Give me freaking JJ. Bring JJ on the show. Holy crap. Let's hear his opinion about this damn trade and why they made this decision. I think you're trying to cover your own ass right now and just not admit you were
ninth in the country.
I think you're just trying to cover your ass right now. And don't.
You know what? I got a big ass, so
that's a lot of
cover. A lot of cover. It take a blanket, damn it.
More like a drape.
Did you just pull a drape? Is that so I can open it up when I need to go? You know,
hey, you're getting too deep into this.
Rivalries make sports great, but they got to be on the same level. And I'm sorry, Angel Reese ain't on the level of Caitlin Clark. Like, it's not Magic Bird.
If you don't want to commit to it, take your ass and be a PE all-star.
First off, you need to get your facts effing straight.
How do you like me now? What? You're the coach. Shut up, dude. All you haters, shut the hell up. Just shut the hell up.
Whoa.
I won 5 Super Bowls, damn it. How dare you call the Cowboys a shit team? Watch the Cowboys. It'll be fun, they said. Bloody fucking hell, it was no fun.
It was like riding a train around one of the Kardashians' asses, and you just disappear into this abyss of ice. Somehow he talked about buttholes that made me hungry for a PBJ sandwich. It's 35-7, and it's only 7 because you just scored. Shut up.
Are you telling me coaches like Coach Popovich does plays in spaghetti noodles?
The thing about Coach Popovich is he actually liked to use popcorn with super glue.
Popcorn with super glue?
Yeah, he would put super glue little magnets on the bottom, and then he would arrange them on the board, and he would like color them different colors, and that would signify the opponents. And yeah.
Are those the players?
I don't want to give away any industry secrets on that particular thing, but yeah, I'm just gonna say you gotta. Yeah, I don't really know what I'm saying no more.
And they're playing with sticks, and they're playing with a little puck all the time.
Expert analysis right there. They play with sticks and pucks.
Trying to grow the game, man. Global game.
These people, they don't give a damn.
Well, I don't really know, but it drives me nuts. You're almost going to laugh. I can see it. Almost fixing to lose it. It drives me nuts.
Oh, man.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody.
Well, all right. Here we are again, going solo for On Time Sports Talk. So I want to thank you guys for being here tonight, checking us out. We're going to have fun tonight. I'm going to put to rest that a lot of people think Sir George is and myself are the same. We're going to put that to bed tonight because I actually interviewed Sir George. So hopefully you guys will see that it's not the same person. But all right, we always start off with a joke before we get into what we're going to be talking about. So why do melons have weddings? Speaking of weddings, since the original isn't here, why do melons have weddings? You know why? Because they can't elope. That's why they have weddings. They can't elope. Bing, there you go. All right. I'll give you a twofer. Watch what you say around egg whites because they can't take a yolk. Boom. There you go. All right. It's not the same not having the original here or having or the original. I'm the original. There's a little bit of senior stuff coming in. But not having Casey here. Obviously, Casey is still out on his honeymoon. I did a little FaceTime with him the other day, or yesterday, I should say, from his cruise ship. But they are out in the Mediterranean somewhere. Destinations unknown to only them. But they are having a good time. Getting to see some stuff. Obviously, Casey is a history teacher, so he is geeking out on all the places they're going over there with all the ruins and all that stuff and ancient Greece and all that stuff. So we wish them well. He needs to hurry back because I'm ready to turn this thing back over to him, but we are going to have some fun. We got some things to talk about. We'll talk a little bit about the NFL. Got some players, a certain first round draft pick that is holding out from his team because of a contract dispute. You usually don't see that anymore since the last, what was it, CBA or whatever it was for first round draft picks. You usually don't see that much anymore, but there was something in there that he didn't like. Mini camps, mandatory mini camps have started. Got a few people holding out, but I'll talk a little bit about the Cowboys. Have watched a little bit of that and watched some of the feedback from them as this gets going with their new look offense, I should say. Different running backs this year. Got another big time receiver with them. And then we're going to talk. Obviously, we got some championships going on with the NBA. We'll get into that. I'll probably start talking about that first. And then we have the NHL, and a very familiar look is starting to happen with the Panthers and the Oilers. We've seen this play out before. So, with that, I'm also going to bring on tonight, if you guys want to chime in on this, besides the Buffalo Bills losing 4 straight Super Bowls, and we could possibly argue which one was the worst loss. I'm going to share my top 10 worst losses ever in sports. And you may know some of those, but that's leaving the Buffalo Bills out of the equation. Because I think everybody can agree that Buffalo losing that 4 Super Bowls, and then of course losing 2 of those to the Cowboys, and then losing the Stanley Cup on somewhat of a controversial call at the NHL a few years later. It was another one. So Buffalo continues to suffer, looking for a championship somewhere. So we'll talk a little bit about Major League Baseball. Not a whole lot in my mind, except wait a minute.
Wait, where's they at? The Astros, don't look now, but the Astros are actually starting to win games and be consistent in winning games. So that's something we'll touch on a little bit. But let's start out by touching on the NBA and what happened in game 3. Now, after game 2 and how handedly the Thunder took that game, I think a lot of us were like, okay, the Thunder, might take this game over. It might take the series over, I should say. But the game that the Pacers played in game 3, more particular to their bench, was Mathurin, McConnell. McConnell looked like a man possessed in the first quarter. Um, it was really what we've seen from the Pacers this whole playoff series, this whole time in the postseason. They just find a way to win these tough games. Now, obviously, you can take game 2 however you want to take it. This was at OKC's arena. The Pacers just didn't seem on. But now we're in the Pacers house. Now we've got the Pacers fans. And the fans were into this game, and they had every right to be, because and this is actually a good a thought, something to think about, is because a lot of folks will say basketball, outside of some other sports, home field advantage is not necessarily as big a thing, like say in football or hockey. But the fans last night, to me, just continually fed off the energy that, like I said, in the first quarter, McConnell just coming in and doing what he did. What was he? He was plus 12, I think, or plus 13 in the first half. Or was that Mathurin? No, McConnell. He was plus 13 in the first half. And just brought this fire off the bench. Now, to me, the difference here, when you look at this game and how it breaks down, if you look at the bench from OKC, we had single digits. It was Caruso, obviously, coming in, and because he doesn't start, but he's the big man, coming in, playing 32 minutes. He got 8 points, even though he had some big plays in the game. But if you go back and you look at the bench for Indiana and what they did, and let me just say this too, because I heard this and I agree with it. When you talk about Rick Carlisle and the importance of coaching in basketball, and a lot of people will argue that the coaching in basketball is not necessarily as important maybe in some of the other sports, just because you have so many prima donnas on certain basketball teams. It's like any coach who plays with LeBron knows that if LeBron doesn't like them, they're going to be gone. But I think Rick Carlisle and his importance to the Pacers right now was on display full force last night. Just knowing who to put in, when to put them in the game, and just his management of his players. With Benedict Mathurin, having 27 points off the bench in 22 minutes. 9 of 12 in his field goals. He was 2 of 3. He only missed 1 3 out of the 3 that he shot. And his free throws, 7 of 8. Plus 16 overall in the game. That right there, if you want to look at the difference in this, because it went back and forth. And I think that was where, to me, the crowd definitely helped this game out. It went back and forth during the whole game. And the crowd and the Pacers bench and Halliburton. Oh my goodness. Halliburton, he was 50% from the 3-point line, 4 of 8. But the shots that he hit were what he's been doing this entire postseason. It's when they need him, and it's when you think the game is fixing to turn toward the other team that he comes in. I'm not sure if he really reminds me of another player because he's a starter, whereas Robert Ory was kind of like that. But obviously, Ory was not a starter. He came off the bench, didn't play a lot of minutes in a lot of games, but he hit the shots when they were needed. And that is what Tyrese Halliburton is doing. He is providing that spark that just seems, and last night, man, he was playing off the crowd and just getting into it. And so we are seeing the Indiana team that we should be used to now in the postseason, because they just find a way to take these games that go back and forth and pull it out at the end. Now, granted, game 2 was looked a lot different, but I've still picked the Pacers to win this. Not from the very beginning, obviously. I think a lot of us didn't get that right. So, but I think the Pacers just are the little engine that could, so to speak. And I just think they are going to be tough to beat down the stretch. I don't think they lose any at home. I really don't. I think their crowd is into it. I think they feed off that crowd. And I just think Rick Carlisle is able to put people in the right place, just like he did when he was in Dallas and they won a championship. I think at the beginning of the season, I don't think that year that the Mavericks did win the championship, I don't think everybody was really picking the Mavericks to do what they did. But if you look at coaches and coaches that matter, if I had to pick an MVP of this series so far, it's going to be Rick Carlisle, even though he's obviously not a player and you don't pick the coach as the MVP. But just the way Indiana is able to find that fire and push through the dips in the game. We know that basketball is a game of runs. There's going to be a run for one team, there's going to be a run for another one. And the thing you try to do is on the defensive end of the court is you're just trying to keep that run not put you so far out that you can't get back in it. And then there's times when it just goes back and forth, back and forth. We saw all of that in game 3. So pretty amazing Pacers team. And I just think the Pacers are on pace to win this thing. I can't remember what I picked. I'll have to find it, but I think I picked the Pacers in 6. And it may not make it to 6 the way well, we'll have to see. We obviously got the next game in Indiana, and then they're going to go back to OKC, and then we go back and forth. So that format for the championship is really, it's going to make it tough to call, I think.
But obviously, if it gets to game 7, that may change the whole thing because if they play in Oklahoma, we'll just have to see what happens. I think you've got your MVP on the Thunder, but I just think the series MVP, that's going to be another thing to talk about. Whether that's Halliburton or someone else, we'll just have to see. But all right, so there we have it. That is a little bit about the NBA. I know there's a lot of things going on. Thibodeau is out at the Nets. That's a big story, obviously, because they're talking to a lot of teams, and the Mavericks are one of them, about getting Jason Kidd up there. Is that going to be a good situation for that coach? Obviously, the team is pretty good, so we're going to have to see who ends up going there. But I think it was a surprise to a lot of folks when they let him go. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over these next couple of weeks. Now, one of the things, the reasons I am talking about the worst losses and ranking the worst losses is because the NHL, let's move to the NHL, is what we saw in game 3, obviously, with the Panthers and the Oilers. This, quite frankly, looks like a little bit of a rerun of last year. And why is this significant? Because the Edmonton Oilers coming into this thing after they took out the Stars, and they are just starting the game here atop here tonight. And I'll keep you posted on that. Sorry, 1-0 Edmonton is leading. But Edmonton came into this, and quite frankly, in game 1, they played like they had been playing before, even though I get it. It went into overtime. But you just got the feeling, and this is my opinion, you got the feeling that Edmonton coming into the series was the better team. And they obviously had McDavid, but it was going to fall on Skinner, and Skinner played his mind out of his mind against the Dallas Stars. But moving into this series, you just saw he found his groove. And he really did show that in these in really the first 2 games. Obviously, there was a lot of scoring that went on in both games, game 1 and game 2. Going into overtime, both games went into overtime, which was something that was completely unheard of in Stanley Cup history. But the Panthers pulled that out. But here's the thing. Now the Oilers have to go to Florida in game 3. And I'm just going to be honest. I talk about the goalies. The goalies, if a goalie is hot, they will beat a good team any day of the week. Skinner in game 3 did not look like the Skinner we had seen against the Stars and in the first 2 games. He looked like the Skinner that everybody was worried about before the postseason started. And that's where everybody said the Oilers, if they have a weakness, the biggest weakness that they have is in their goalie. Now, granted, if we go back and we look at this game Game 3, 6-1 for the Panthers. Now, I'm not going to put this solely on Skinner, but he made some big mistakes. One of the goals, he literally jumped out in front of the goal, in front of the crease, as the puck was still in the crease area, and basically took himself out. It was a bad goalie play. And of course, that led to a point by, I think it was either Marchand or Carter, and I can't even say his name, Verhage, I guess is his name. But here's the story of this hockey game. The story of this hockey game is the penalties. Penalties is what's crazy about this whole thing is if Florida had got 40% of their power play percentage of scoring, then it would have been like 9-1. But they went on the power play, get this, 11 times. 3 of those times, which 27.3%, they score. The Edmonton Oilers, on the other hand, only had 6 power plays and only scored on 1 of them, which is obviously 16%. Penalty minutes. Edmonton was in the box for 85 minutes. You think about that in relation to an entire hockey game of how long that the Panthers were on the power play because someone was in the box for the Oilers. 85 penalty minutes for the Oilers and 55 for the Panthers. You want the story of the game, it's right there. Because the shots on goal are not that different. I mean, your first period is 12-10 Edmonton, 13-9 Edmonton, 8-12 Florida. And so by the end of the game, it's Edmonton had 33 shots on goal, Florida had 31 shots on goal. Not a big difference, but the big difference was Florida usually had an extra man on the ice. And if I'm not mistaken, a couple times they had 5-2. And when your goalie is not quite playing up to par, I should say, that's detrimental to winning a hockey game. The problem with this whole thing is that, okay, they took the goal away, or I was looking at shots on goal. It's actually 0-0. Sorry, I gave you the wrong update there. But getting back to my point here is that Skinner not playing up to par and then being forced to penalty kill was the story of this game. And the Panthers took advantage of it. And you can't do that if you're Edmonton. They've got to get themselves under control. And we saw some crap at the end of the game. And fans, get better. Stop throwing bottles and shit onto the ice at the end of the game. That's just ridiculous. Now I realize Edmonton started some shit at the end of the game, and because they were obviously super frustrated. But let the players take care of it on the ice. This is hockey. They'll fight it out. You don't need to be throwing shit onto the rink. Because especially if you pay lots of money to get that ticket and you do something like that and you're going to be banned, it's just stupid. Don't do that. Let the players, it's a game. At the end of the day, it's a damn game. Let the players work it out on the ice or duke it out on the ice. They don't need your dumbass doing shit and throwing it into the rink and just becoming a total stupid ass by doing that. That's not being a true fan. You don't need to be involved in the game because you obviously weren't good enough to play the sport, so you're watching the sport. So don't put your bullshit in the game. That's my rant on that. That's a sport. There's your sports pet peeve, and I would put on here wherever that is. Um, where is it? I can't find it, but sports pet peeve. But um, just don't, just don't do it, man. Just that's not cool. All right. So with that, we are at the 7:30 mark. We are going to take a little break and bring in our sponsor of Easy Leadership. So here we go.
Have you heard of the DISC communication tool? Yes, most people in business have. But there is a new tool out there that is tailored for leadership teams. It is called the DISC Work of Leaders and focuses on 3 main areas: vision, alignment, and execution. This amazing assessment is not just a game changer. It is a business strategy necessity if you want to create sustainability. Let's be honest, a lot of executives spend many hours in HR dealing with people issues, and that happens because of reactive leadership. If you are sitting in HR trying to figure out what happened after the fact, then you are not able to concentrate on running your department or business, and it steals your time. Email us or call. It's free to talk about it and learn how to become proactive in your leadership. Big or small, we have a plan to build on your strengths and an action plan for your challenges. Join Eddie Schedule, our CEO and founder, for a quick video on what a report does for you. Head over to our website and scroll down to see this amazing video of the DISC Work of Leaders tool. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Well, all right. Thank you, Sharon. I give her a new name every time, but no, Sharon. Appreciate it. Yes, Easy Leadership. Got a lot of things right now. We're offering some free assessments online if you want to find out what type of leadership style is your strength. There is a free assessment right now. We do plan on making that cost money here in just a little bit. So get it while it's free because we're gathering feedback on that to obviously make it better. The other thing I want to touch on before we get back into anything, we are still looking for sponsors. If you are out there, you are a local business, a national business, anyone who would like to have a commercial like what you just saw on our show, we can guarantee that we get you viewers. But we'll even help you, we'll even help you put that ad together. That's one of the things I do. I'll be glad to help you put that together and get it on here for 30 seconds. It's $30 for 30 seconds. And you can be on the show, and that's $30 gets you 4 shows a month. So that's pretty cheap when you think about marketing. So especially on a show that's got a lot of viewers. So please contact us for that. You can DM me on Facebook or anywhere, or you put it in the chat, and I will definitely get a hold of you. All right. So before we get into Major League Baseball and then move into a little bit of the NFL, I did spend some time interviewing Sir George today before the show started because obviously I want to bring in some guests while Casey is out. And so Sir George was kind enough to join us from London, but that was recorded earlier today. So without further ado, here we go with the Sir George interview. Okay, I'm solo tonight, but earlier I did talk to one of, I know that's a fan favorite of a lot of folks, that's Sir George, and I'm going to share that with you guys. So without further ado, here it is. So, um, we're here with Sir George, who's on the line. He's still in London. And based on your garb there, Sir George, it looks like you've been out riding the bike with the king again, or with whoever it is you ride bike, or you just like wearing that shirt, one or the other. But, well, thank you for letting me on here, Mr. Original. I think this will put to rest that a lot of people think that we are the same person, but since you're interviewing me now, maybe that will put a little bit of that to rest. But I understand the remix Casey is actually out on his honeymoon, so we wish them lots of love and be fruitful and all that sort of shit. Well, you enjoying that first year of marriage, so to speak. But so let's get on with it. I did want to touch with, and I appreciate you being here, but I did want to touch on something because this has come up a couple of times. Is English sports, and you guys know how I feel about it. I don't think American football should go over there, Sir George. I don't. But English sports versus American sports. Sir George, why is your stuff better than our gridiron, hoops, and baseball? Oh, all right, mate. English sports are superior. I mean, what's the bloody question here? Why? Because they're civilized. Unlike your American barbarianism, cricket, it's 5 days of strategy, tea breaks, and glorious trousers. Your baseball, that's just a bunch of fat blokes in pajamas swinging sticks, chasing a ball like a overfed pigeons. Oh, shots fired. But come on, cricket's slower than a DMV line. What about football? You know, you've been on here to have a few takes. Our NFL crushes your what? Soccer? Football, you say? Okay, so we've had some interviews about the NFL and those bloody cowboys. But first off, let's just take this sport that you're trying to bring to us over here in London and the UK. Your NFL is just armored lummoxes crashing into each other like human Land Rovers, pausing every 6 seconds for adverts. Our football, proper football, is 90 minutes of sheer poetry. Messi's footwork is Shakespearean. Your quarterbacks, they're just chucking eggs at a wall hoping it sticks. And don't get me started on your World Series. World my ass. Arse. If that's what you think us blokes say it. Only Yanks play it. We don't play it. What is a World Series? That's not true. Okay. But basketball's got dunks, flair. It's got LeBron, dare I say it? It's got netball, netball, basketball, netball. For schoolgirls, you draft grit. We rugby, the sport of kings. Blokes built like brick sheds smashing into each other. No pads, no whining. Basketball, Tads, tall lads in vests bouncing a ball like hyperactive giraffes. And those squeaky shoes. Oh my goodness, it sounds like a mouse orgy on the gym floor. Rugby's wrong, mate. You cry before your first scrum. Harsh, Sir George. But what about tradition? Are Super Bowls a global spectacle? Really? Bearskin Warble Super Bowl? Half the show some pop star twerking, and the other half your lot of gorging on nachos. Are Wimbledon's traditions strawberries, cream, and Federer serving aces like a bloody aristocrat? Your sports are flash. There's no substance. English sports, we invented the law. Ball, cricket, rugby. You just thanked them, slapped on some commercials, and called it innovation. A sort of have a kindergarten. Sir George dropping truth bombs like it's the Blitz. Well, we want to thank you for being here, Sir George, joining me. And hopefully, we put to rest that he is a different person than me. But we do look a lot alike. But back to you in the studio. All right. So there you have it. Sir George joining. And yeah, he might look a lot like me, but he's family, right? So that's why. All right. So there you go. He seems to think English sports are better. Federer serving serves like an aristocrat. Interesting. Um, Rugby is a pretty tough sport. I gotta admit that. I tried it once and I said, what position am I playing? And they said, piggy. And I said, no way, Deliverance, man. I'm out. All right. Um, so let's touch a little bit on Major League Baseball. Just talk a little bit. The Astros are starting to make a move. They've obviously taken over American League West and moved ahead of the Angels. The Rangers scored a lot of points in their last game, as I remember. I and but they are still second to last. But that division right now, the American League West right now is not. No one has ran away with it. Obviously, the Astros getting up 4 games on the Angels, Mariners, and Rangers. Um, at this point is something that's good to see that the Astros here in Texas are starting to move up. Obviously, the Rangers is something that a lot of fans here in Texas want to see. But the Astros, um, good to see. The Mets are still leading out in the National League East. They are on a 6-game winning streak right now. You have the Cubs up by 5 games on the Cardinals. The Cardinals, who are on a losing streak right now, uh, they've lost 4 in the last, I guess, in the last 4 games, they've lost 4. I don't know where I'm going with that thought. But how if we head up to the National League West, how about the San Francisco Giants starting to make a move on the Dodgers? They are 1 game back, and we're going to see how this plays out because they've got some games against each other coming up. If they're not already playing, let me see in their series here. Yeah, or no, that's the Rockies. They just finished off the Rockies, and I think they're uh, yeah, no, okay. I was all jacked up on that one. But like I said, the my Padres are still not too far back. They are 38 and 29. They've plus 24. Um, but the Yankees, Toronto Blue Jays are not too far behind them. They're only 3 games behind them. So we're starting to see some of these divisions in baseball starting to kind of group together. We're starting to see some teams that weren't doing so well at the beginning of the year start to move up. And I think that has to do with not only injuries, people getting healthy, but it also, I think, in baseball more than a lot of sports, it takes a little bit of time for teams to gel, so to speak. I realize that baseball has a spring training, and you would think that would be more of that. But I think a spring training is a lot like preseason football. They're spending a lot of time trying different things out. They're looking at different players and just seeing what's going to work out. So, with that said, I think it's going to be interesting as this continues. But I think it's good for the Astros. But the Rangers got to find their stride. They really do. They just can't seem to. Their last 10, they are 500, 5-5. Whereas teams like the Astros and Angels, the Astros are actually 7-3 out of their last 10. So they're doing really well, hanging in there. So we're just going to have to see how this all plays out for Texas sports, whether it's the Astros who end up taking on the Angels or the Rangers find a way to start inching up and give themselves a chance. Because right now they're not showing a lot of that, even though they did score a lot of points in the last one. So now let's talk a little bit about the NFL before we get into some of the finishing out with my worst losses list. This is something that is new to me, at least. Well, I think it's new to the NFL. Is you have a rookie in Shamar Sanders or Stewart. I always say Sanders. I guess Shamar Stewart and then Shador Sanders. Those. Why are people naming their kids these weird names? I guess it's family, or they just want teachers to never be able to spell their name right or pronounce their name right, or guys like me from Texas. But Mr. Stewart, Shamar Stewart, for the Bengals, is holding out of mandatory mini camps because he doesn't like what's in the contract. And I guess what started this whole thing was he was talking about his contract. And remember, Stewart is their first round draft pick. It's who the Bengals picked. And in that first round, me stating the obvious, but the thing about it is he is, most of the time we don't see this in rookie contracts. It's not a big issue. But they put something in there about voiding some guaranteed money later on. Now, I haven't been through it enough, but the thing is, he went into the locker room and he was talking to other players, former number one, and they said, no, we don't have that in our contract. So he is in a dispute right now with the Bengals, and the Bengals always seem to have some of this drama with these players. And remember, Stewart, obviously, with Texas A&M, but we don't see this. And the thing is that he's wondering why he's being singled out, why he has this in his contract when no one else has had that before. So on the other side of that, if I look at it, then the Bengals are saying or have put this in the contract because maybe there's something they want to protect themselves. Maybe there's more about Shamar Stewart, who's a fellow Aggie. Maybe there's something we don't know about that they do. But at this point, you have, which is almost unheard of, unless you go way back. I think it's 2012 they had the CBA, that they had these issues when you had, rookies getting this godly amounts of money before they approved anything on the field. Well, they took care of that, and that really hasn't been an issue. You don't hear about this type of thing a lot anymore. But now here we are. And he's threatening that if they don't change this, that he's going to set out the whole year, or set out at least for a long time, because he's already missing minicamp. And if you look at past football and guys who've set out before they come in their rookie year, it almost never works out well for them on the field. It really doesn't. It doesn't work out good for them, because the transition from college to playing in the NFL, and I know I'm preaching to the choir. I know it. That everybody kind of understands this. But now you're playing against grown ass men who are just as good, if not way better than you, as you come out of college. There's very few players that fit the mold of someone who comes in and makes an impact right away. We've seen a few quarterbacks do that. I think Micah Parsons did that his rookie year. I think Dak Prescott did that his rookie year, along with Zeke in their rookie season. So it's going to be something to watch. And I'm obviously very familiar with Stewart from the Aggies. I don't think he's on the level. I think, yes, he deserved a first round pick, but I don't think he's the type of player that you would see like a Myles Garrett who came from Texas A&M. He's not even close to that. Myles Garrett, when he came out, or I can't think of his name, but Myles Garrett, when he came out of A&M, you knew he was going to make an impact right away. Even though he went to the Cleveland Browns, you knew he was going to make an impact right away. Stewart, not everybody's heard his name because he didn't have a lot of big numbers at A&M, but he was a disruptor, and he's fast, but he did not have a whole lot of numbers. So we'll see how this plays out. Now, getting back to, I shared last week what I thought about Aaron Rodgers going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've not changed my mind. I still think that is not going to work out well for them. I just don't think the Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers, when they were good and he was good, I don't think that man exists anymore. Florida is up in the game already in the first period with 4 minutes left, just to give you guys an update. So, yeah, I don't think that's going to work out great for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Steeler Nation, I think you're just it's going to be a rough season. I'm going to be honest with you. I just think it is, because you're not this Aaron Rodgers. As soon as things don't go his way, you're going to see it. You're going to see it on the field. You're going to see it in the locker room. And unfortunately, I think for Tomlin, this is probably going to be his last year if they don't get something done in the playoffs. Even though we know with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they tend to hold on to their coaches for a long time. They don't like changing coaches, but I think Tomlin is probably in his last year if they can't turn this thing around and do something. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers was the key to doing that. So we'll see what happens there. Cowboys. The Cowboys, as they come into these mandatory mini camps, I actually like what Schottenheimer's doing. I think Schottenheimer is bringing a certain energy level that's there that I don't think McCarthy had. And Schottenheimer is doing this because I'm going to be honest. Here's what I think. I think that Schottenheimer saw what Dan Quinn did with that defense in Dallas. And he was on the field, he was excited, and even Shotty has said this. He has said, if our coaches don't bring the excitement and don't bring the fun and just the intensity, then the team isn't going to do that. Because we all know this in culture and leadership, it starts at the top. So they've got to be motivated and they got to bring it. I'll give you a weird example is Brady and Belichick. Belichick, you never got the feeling that he was this intense coach. But what made up for that was he had a very intense quarterback who, because I believe that in any sport, the coach has to bring the intensity. And that's attention to detail. That is being there to be the motivator and guiding the team, pushing the team. I shouldn't say guiding, but pushing the team and players to get more out of them and to get more out of themselves. So I think as we go forward, I tell you, one of my favorite coaches in hockey in the Dallas Stars with Ken Hitchcock. He was one, if you watch that man coach, he was meticulous, but he was also pushing players to be better than they thought they could be. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from Schottenheimer so far and his staff. I like what Dak's showing, that he is healed from this injury. And it's, to me, like I said before, when we talked about this, I have a little excitement now for the Cowboys that I didn't have before they went and got Pickens. So, I think it's looking good so far, and we'll see what happens. I'm still worried about the defense, but at least if the offense can score, that's obviously a third of the battle, as we say, because there's offense, defense, and special teams. So with that, I want to bring up something before we finish out. And we're not going to go an hour and a half tonight. We're going to try to stick to about an hour or so. But with this whole Edmonton flame out in game 3, and quite frankly, they're flaming out in game 2. Sorry, 2-0, 2:48 left in the first period. Panthers are winning. On, guess what? What did I talk about? Power play goal. If Edmonton continues to give the Panthers power play goals, they're going to lose this in the next. It's going to be it. The first game that they won in overtime will be the only one they have, because they can't continue to get penalties or get power plays to the Panthers. So with that, because this is a repeat of last year's Stanley Cup, and it's looking like it's going to repeat exactly the same, and Edmonton, who has come into this year they just seem stronger, faster. The fact is, if they come into this and flame out, it's going to be considered, it would go on this list of one of the worst losses of all time. So I wanted to bring up my top 10 list here of worst losses ever. And I'm just focusing on American sports. And I know there's probably some things involved, but I'm really focused on more team sports here. But and like I said, I want to take out the Buffalo Bills losing 4 Super Bowls in a row. But excuse me, it is not that late yet. I'm not supposed to be on it. But 1986 World Series. Oh my goodness. Who remembers this one? Oh, you kids don't, do you? But it was the thing was the Red Sox. Why was this such a big deal in this loss? Why was it one of the worst ever? It's because the Red Sox were 1 out away from winning their first World Series since 1918. They led 5-3. Are you hearing me? In case you don't remember this, they led 5-3 in the 10th inning. Then they started committing errors. And the biggest one, which everybody in baseball knows, Bill Buckner, error on a ground ball through his legs, allowed the Mets to win this thing 6-5. And that didn't win the series because that was game 6. But it allowed that series to go to game 7. And then, of course, the Mets won in game 7. That's why that is one of the worst losses ever. Because the Red Sox were on a verge of ending a 68-year, hear that again, a 68-year championship drought. And they called, and everybody's heard it, the curse of the Bambino, obviously. And really, if you think about it, it wasn't until 2004 that the Red Sox finally turned things around. The next one on the list, we're going to give some props to the Buffalo Bills here. And unfortunately, I'm going to tell you, this is one of the games that I remember because it was at this point, I always liked the Cowboys as my NFC team, and I always rooted for the Oilers as my AFC team. It was this game that made me quit. I was in the Navy. I quit the Oilers and I changed to what was then the San Diego Chargers, who are now the LA Chargers. Basically went from one misery to another misery. But why was this significant for you folks who don't remember this? It wasn't just the comeback. The Oilers had Warren Moon. They were poised to win it all. But the problem was, and remember, this is 1992, how great it would have been to have the Houston Oilers versus the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl. The Oilers led 35-3 in the third quarter. Do you hear me? In the third quarter. Not in second quarter, not in the first quarter. In the third quarter, they're up 35-3. But the Bills, who didn't even have their starting quarterback, they had Frank Reich, who was the backup quarterback, staged the largest comeback in NFL history and won the game 41-38. 41-38. That was gut-wrenching. And for me personally, that's when I wrote the Oilers off. Couldn't do it anymore. Could not do it anymore. The next one on my list, third on my list, is the New England Patriots against the New York Giants. The Patriots were undefeated, poised to become the only undefeated NFL team since the Miami Dolphins did it in 1972, I think it was. 18-0, coming in against the Eli Manning-led Giants. And why is this such a bad line? And I'm sure Brady has talked about this because the Patriots would have been cemented in immortality as the only team, not only, and they're already there with how many championships they won, but imagine if they had went 19-0, but the Giants stopped them from doing that. Stopped them from doing that with, remember, David Tyree's helmet catch, and they win 17-14. That was an amazing play. How about 1988? A lot of people don't remember this one. Denver Broncos against the Washington Redskins. A lot of people think John Elway always won Super Bowls. Well, no, he did not. The Broncos, led by John Elway, had a 10-0 lead. But that was it. They scored 10 points. And guess what? The Redskins did. The Redskins score 42 unanswered points in this Super Bowl. And it is still, or no, it's not the largest, but it still stands as one of the largest, 32-point margin. And it was a humiliating blow for the Broncos, who were expected to win that title. I think the Redskins were good, but no one expected them to win. Now, here's one a lot of people forget about, but I grew up during the generation of Chris Webber, and this was just someone losing game awareness. With 19 seconds left and trailing by 2, Chris Webber, who's part of Michigan Wolverines, called the timeout. Well, guess what? His team didn't have one. They had used them all. That resulted in a technical foul, and that basically sealed their loss 77-71 as the Tar Heels went on to win that. I wonder how Chris Webber, I've never seen an interview of him talking about this, but trying to call a timeout and your team doesn't have one, you get a technical foul and basically give the guy a free shot. If not, I think he got 2 free shots. And why does it stand out? Because the Fab Five were a cultural phenomenon, and Weber's mistake ended their chance at a national title. If you go back, look up what the Fab Five were. Now, here's one that made one man uberly famous. 1969 Super Bowl, Baltimore Colts versus the New York Giants. The Colts came into this game as 18-point favorites, taking on a Jets team led by someone who was considered a prima donna in commercials and all this stuff, but a guy named Joe Namath. And why it stands out as it was one of the monumental shocks and losses to the Colts. The upset was a monumental shock as the AFL's Jets were considered vastly inferior to the Colts. And the AFL in particular, during that time period, and obviously I was only 4 years old, so this is not something I remember, but I've seen the stuff from NFL films and history. Really miss those NFL films they used to have. But that was a turning point for the AFL, who was always considered inferior to the NFL. So moving right along, one I really don't want to talk about, but it's there, and it was huge. 1981 NFC Championship, our Cowboys against 49ers, led by Joe Montana. The catch, which is immortalized. If you've ever been to the Hall of Fame in Canton, it's immortalized there. But there was only 48 seconds left on the clock. Montana throws it out to Dwight Clark. He managed to snag it in the back of the end zone, and the 49ers win 28-27. That's enough on that one. Let's just forget it. All right, 2003. New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. American League Championship game. Game 7. The Red Sox led 5-2. Listen to that score. Red Sox led 5-2 in the 8th inning. But then manager Grady Little left pitcher Mr. Pedro Martinez in a little too long and allowed the Yankees to come back in a 6-5 win in the 11th with Aaron Boone hitting a walk-off home run. Why does that stand out? Because the loss extended once again the Red Sox. Remember, this was before 2004. Extended the Red Sox championship drought and intensified the curse of the Bambino. And Little never really recovered from that because it was all blamed on the manager. So moving on to number 9, Cincinnati Bengals versus the San Francisco 49ers. In 1989, for you folks who were around, the Bengals led 16-13 late in the fourth quarter, but Mr. Comeback, most people don't call him this, but I did. Joe Montana led a 92-yard game-winning drive, ending with a touchdown pass to John Taylor with only 34 seconds left, and the 49ers won this 20-16. Why does this stand out? Because the Bengals never won a Super Bowl, and they were inches from their first Super Bowl win. But Montana took it away from them. Took it away. And the Bengals still have yet to take home that championship. And then one that most of all of us will remember is 2015, the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. Set the scene, baby. It was 26 seconds left, and the Seahawks were at the Patriots' 1-yard line. At the 1-yard line, trailing 28-24. When a hapless Russell Wilson, instead of handing the ball off to Mr. Marshawn Lynch, threw an interception. Why this stands out as one of the worst losses? Because that controversial play call is still considered one of the most questionable in NFL history, costing the Seahawks second straight Super Bowl title and sparking that widespread debate. Pete Carroll, to me, I don't know how all that came about, but man, you talk about when you're that close and all you got to do is punch it in and it gets taken away from you. That's got to be like a gut shot to the stomach. Gotta be. So there you go. That's my top 10. Besides, like I said, I'm not counting the 4 Super Bowl losses to the Buffalo Bills. So to recap, you had the 1986 World Series, Red Sox and the Mets. You had the 1992 AFC wild card, the Oilers and the Buffalo Bills, the 35-3 lead. 2007 Super Bowl, Patriots and the Giants, the helmet catch from Eli. 1988 Denver Broncos and the Washington Redskins. John Elway gets embarrassed, can only score 10 points, and then his defense gives up 42 unanswered. 1993 basketball championship. Man, and you think about that. When you get through all of March Madness and you get there, to be remembered by this, Chris Webber, timeout. Wait a second, there are no timeouts. Don't call a timeout. Too late, he did a technical foul. And they game. So then you have 1969, Baltimore Colts and New York Jets, when most of us were little bitty kids or not even born at all. The Joe Namath, who claimed he was going to win it, and he did. 1981 championship. The NFC Championship, Dallas Cowboys, 49ers, blah, 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 blah. No one cares. All right, 2003, ALCS, Game 7, New York Yankees and Boston Red Sox. Grady Little leaves Pedro Martinez in just a little too long, and they lose. Number 9 was the 1989 Super Bowl. The Bengals just so close to finally getting over the hill. They lose to the Joe Montana 49ers. And then the 2015 Seahawks against the Patriots. And Russell Wilson throws an interception on a very, very questionable call. That is your top 9. And nobody is commenting, or I just can't see the comments. So, that is it. If you guys want to put it in the comments later of what you think was my list right, is there some other loss that maybe was close to that? Well, folks, I think based on that, we are going to end the show, and we will be back next week. I think Casey will definitely be back, so there'll be 2 of us. And we will get back into it. A lot still going on, obviously, with the NBA, and we'll see how this plays out with the NHL. I'll have a little bit more from the mandatory mini camps. But other than that, I'm going to sign off for the night. You guys take care, and I appreciate you listening and being here. So have a good evening, and we'll catch you next week.